We're all addicted. Horrible. Hopefully, when I'm in my late 20s, I'll stop with that. But definitely ban it. Future generations are all that matter.
The reason that Australia is banning vapes is because they don't get taxed like cigarettes, so the government doesn't care. Otherwise, it would be completely different.
There's been no real good. We don't know what they do to you because there's been no long-term evidence behind it.
Our grandparents' generation used to smoke cigarettes in huge amounts, due to which, unfortunately, at that time, the world observed that most of them died due to the lung diseases. One of the biggest names that pops up when talking about cigarette manufacturers is Philip Morris, the creator of Marlboro. They made massive amounts of profit, precisely speaking in billions, and are known as the cigarette giants. In the new era, companies like Philip Morris saw that their customer base is getting depleted on a humongous scale. One of the reasons behind this depletion was the deaths that were related to cigarette users. The people in the new era saw the cigarette as a life-risking product, thereby they didn't opt for it. On top of it, a lot of ad commercials influencing the people to engage in smoking cigarettes were banned by the government. What was the result out of this? In order to keep their head out of the water and to avoid sinking in the big market of the world, Philip Morris invested 12.8 billion USD in a new startup called Juul.
The products that are sold by big tobacco companies are products that harm and kill people. That is their business, is harming and killing people. That is why they invested in vapes, is because they saw the decline in revenue. I can't predict where they will go next. Quite frankly, I would hope that they have no business left after we actually see a worldwide ban on recreational use of vapes, and we actually see reduced smoking rates across the world.
These vapes managed to conquer every high school and every university in Australia. You can even see people doing vapes in public areas, etc. Companies like Philip Morris and Juul have made the young generation and a lot of people prisoner of vaping. Originally, vapes were made as an alternative to smoking tobacco-containing cigarettes for those people who were addicted towards it. But gradually, vapes were made easily accessible in a lot of stores, due to which the young generation had an easy access to them. Recently, the Australian government had imposed restrictions on the vapes. Now they are only available after one shows a doctor's prescription in a chemist store. The questions that are raised are the people of Australia with the government in this ban? Do they support the government? What will happen to the bodies of the people who are actively engaged into vaping? What are the point of view of an expert on this matter? Let's find an answer to it.
I vape, honestly, just because everyone was doing it at the time, and I didn't realize how easy it was to get addicted to it. And I've done it for the past couple of years now. I regret it. I completely regret it, and I think the ban will really help a lot of people who suffer with that get through it.
Yeah, so I work in a high school, so my opinion on vaping is that it's really bad. I have 12-year-olds, 13-year-olds talking to me about vaping every day, and it just sucks to know what they're putting in their lungs at such a young age.
I actually think it's a really good idea to restrict vapes. So we know that they're banning them for recreational use and making them available as what's called nicotine replacement therapy, which is therapies to help you quit smoking, which will be available with a prescription. So in Australia, technically vapes that include nicotine have always been illegal. However, it hasn't been very well regulated. Young people, while their bodies are still developing, are doing vapes and actually doing long-term harm to their body. We know our life expectancy is increasing, right? Now, quality of life, we don't want it to be reduced by the time we're 80 or 90. And yet we actually are looking to do those kind of things, like have a reduced quality of life if things like vaping continue. It's a bit of a difficult one because we know that there's evidence around what vaping can do. Anything that you inhale into your lungs is likely to do damage.
I actually didn't vape until I got to Australia. I just kind of tested it out here, so I definitely got a strong introduction. But I'm absolutely for Australia banning vapes just because I don't think it actually brings any value. I noticed that when I have it, I want to hit it, but when I don't have it, I'm not actually worse off for being without. So I'm definitely in support of them banning it.
I think, as someone who was heavily addicted to vapes at 16, I think it's a horrible thing and they should be heavily controlled for people under the age of 18. However, I don't think they should be banned because they're a better alternative to cigarettes. But I do seriously think they should be more controlled because they are not good and they're kind of advertised as something that is good for society.
Nicotine is a highly addictive substance. Highly addictive. It's no surprise then that big tobacco companies, when we started to see a drop in traditional smoking, so combustion smoking cigarettes, have actually then turned to something like a vape dangerous. Once you're addicted, it's really hard to come off them. I get it. Not taking up smoking, any product that has nicotine, is the best course of action.
So I started smoking when I was 13 years old and then moved on to vaping when I was 15. And kind of how I started was more just kind of growing it up, seeing it around me. It looked very appealing, which is why I thought I would, give it a try. And it's just something that stuck. How did it feel? I would say it probably felt very different, coming from conventional smoking, where you've got this tiny tube that does not need to be lit up. It's just very ready whenever you want to just take a drag, take 2 drags, no smell, tastes much better than conventional cigarettes do. I think that it's the actual act of smoking, it's having it in your hand, it's, having the constant hand to mouth. I feel like the actual act of smoking when you're doing it is more addictive than not doing it, because then when you stop, you often find yourself with nothing to do and you'll just start fidgeting with your hands, or you'll just, act a bit differently because you're not used to having something in your hand. It was just a question of, okay, what do I do now? You often find yourself at times vaping out of boredom, where you have nothing to do and you're just sitting in bed. You'll pick it up, you'll take a few hits. It's just how it goes. So it's more the actual act. So if someone can find a more productive way of keeping their hands busy in the meantime, then that's another good way to stop smoking.
I watched my grandmother die from emphysema. She basically suffocated in her own body, struggling to breathe. I can tell you what that looks like, and it's horrific. It is a horrific way to die. And I wouldn't want to wish that on anybody. And I really genuinely hope that young people don't take up smoking cigarettes because they can't get a hold of vapes. I hope what they do is either quit cold turkey or actually go and see a health professional and seek advice on how to quit.